to the cloud. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 11th regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting for Scio Township. I'm just doing the backup recording here. Oh, low battery, that's not going to be good. And I'll call the meeting to order. And if you can stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if, because it is September 11th, if everyone will just take a moment and kind of remember where they were on that day and just consider the almost 3,000 lives that were lost and 340 some first responders. Thank you. All right, roll call.
Commissioner Moore,
Present.
Commissioner Chang, present, Commissioner Hyde, present, and Commissioner Culbertson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right, and Commissioner Reiser is on his way. He'll be here in probably 10 minutes or so, but we'll go ahead. Adoption of the agenda. Any?
So moved.
Oh, boy, that was a fast drive. Welcome, Commissioner Reiser joined us at 7:03. Okay, we were adopting the agenda and it was moved by Commissioner Moore and supported by Commissioner Hyde. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is adopted as posted.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, I would like to let everyone know that also the backup recording may not be working. It was on low battery, so hopefully, I think we got the recording going there, so that's good. That the Planning Commission, we do not have our planning consultant tonight, and so I'm thanking Commissioner Moore for doing the timing, Commissioner Hyde for doing the IT, Secretary Chang, yes, and Commissioner Reiser. He's the only one that ever gets a written report in, so thank you for that.
Barely. Sorry, I was out of town.
Yeah.
My computer turned off. I gave leave.
Okay, great. So we did have one communication and correspondence about crosswalks and bike pathways and so forth. Anyone else receive any other communications?
No, just some back and forth on that. And I know there was discussion at the road advisory committee about transportation planning. Is it whose function, the boards, the planning commission, the PPP, which has pathways in it, the road advisory committee, which also includes sidewalks, things like that. So who is it to ensure that the developments that we build have proper, as part of the sustainability, so you have people out there on bikes and walking to bus stops and things like that. So what role does the planning commission have? Back in the day, they built subdivisions that kind of didn't connect with one another. It's kind of crazy. And I'm a little frustrated that the Kensington condos at Scio Church Road in Oak Valley, they don't even cross across the street. Was that a by right project such that they didn't have to, or what do we give?
Sidewalks are in our zoning.
Or did we give them a pass on it, or was there just not required sidewalks out front there?
I don't know, but certainly I think.
I'm asking kind of rhetorically,
Yeah.
but so.
But I think we do have certain requirements for safety paths, and then we have our pathway plan. And that would rest with Planning Commission to make sure those developments, any development would meet those requirements. That certainly needs a review every so often, and PPP, you know, used to, well, there was at one time did the like connecting ones, but our sidewalks, I think we definitely need to do an update just because of, you know, planning along Jackson Road, and some of the identifying the gaps, because there will be funding, I think, that we might be able to apply for to close to.
And sometimes what happens, like Aubrey's Grove, that wasn't by right, but they came to us because they wanted us to waive the ordinance, the zoning ordinance for sidewalks. Forget that.
And what do we decide?
There were internal ones. Yeah, they had an option there, and I don't
think we
really
gave it to
remember.
them. My memory serves me correct. And I'm trying to remember why they asked for that. So I think it was because they had to do something along the northern part of the property, which pushed the construction in.
But they also had to have a connecting pathway through. It wasn't along the road, but they had a connecting pathway through in lieu of sidewalks along the road or something. We should get out the plan if we're gonna talk.
No,
but there was some
I mean, so that's,
Mhm.
you know, that'll be a topic of discussion, I think tomorrow that's gonna come up.
Okay, all right.
It seems like we hear a lot from when they're asking to waive the sidewalks,
Sure do.
that it's, well, there are no sidewalks there. So why should we put it in, you know, why should we fill it in since there's no sidewalks there? That's a horrible reason if that was the case, because it's, you know, it's a self.
We'll never get out of that, yeah.
Exactly, but it just seems like that's what is presented to us a lot. Well, there's no sidewalks there. Why should we put our link in when it doesn't connect? Well, that's the whole
You gotta
point.
start somewhere.
We got it, exactly.
And we have been, I mean, I remember that warehouse down on Jackson, they wanted us to waive the sidewalk because nobody walks down there, and another company said the same thing, and so we're like, no, put them in. And we waived it. We've waived it on another project saying, when we do have some pedestrian walkways, you're still on the hook for those sidewalks. And then recently we said, no, put them in. I'm not, because trying to keep up with all of those little,
Upon the request of the township. it's
yeah,
difficult,
yeah, I thought it didn't make sense for us to have to
In the future,
keep that in,
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
So John, that
Yeah.
would be a good point for discussion tomorrow night when it gets brought up, is that there needs to be a policy in place that says how we're gonna treat sidewalks. You know, if they're not gonna connect to anything, we still want them, right?
Yes,
someday they will,
Yeah,
especially on Jackson Road, that's gonna be
yeah.
where there's water and sewer.
Mhm. All right, let's kind of,
Focus.
yeah, get back on our agenda here, but yeah, that was a very timely
Email.
All right, no presentations, so public comment, we'll move to public comment, and I'll open it at 7:10. People wishing to address the planning commission on any matter. We have no public hearings this evening on the agenda or other matters. Please limit your presentation to 3 minutes, except for a representative or a spokesperson of an organization shall have 5 minutes.
before you call
yes.
on anybody, is it the middle button?
Yeah, it's the middle button. All right, with that, is there anyone present who would like to address the planning commission on any matter? And I think we only have an applicant in the room, so we'll move online.
We have Rob Pattinson.
All right.
Rob, you can speak.
Thank you, Rob Patterson, Scio Township President. Jan, I'll be your backup recording tonight. I'll post it on YouTube under Scio Township Planning Commission 9/11/2023, just in case something bad happens. And then also, do you guys get the planners reports as the Planning Commission members?
They go to the BOT. We have to figure out how we get them. We're supposed to get them, so
So
Last
they-
time we were here, Mr. Luan said we would start getting them as well.
But we did not.
But we did not.
So the planner's report is in the Board of Trustees agenda packet for tomorrow night. So I'll make a request that you put the planner's reports in the agenda packet for the planning commission meetings. And just a heads up, the Knights of Columbus developer has decided to do the hydrogeologic study. This is all from the planner's report. And so that will be back either in front of you or in front of the Board of Trustees. And then Opera's Grove, August 2nd, they resubmitted plans. And after engineering's issues are addressed, it will be on the next Board of Trustees agenda. So those two big contentious issues are on their way back. Just a heads up.
Thank you.
Rob makes a great point. I'm sorry, there's other colors. Potentially.
Yeah, it's so nice when it all works according to form.
Anyone else?
There are no other hands up.
Okay.
That was
Rob makes a great point. I got this on Friday, it's attached to Joyce's. And then I got it, it's also in the packet. So I'm sure it's just an easily fixed oversight, or I can send it to you, or you folks can go on there. I mean, we really should have it because it lets us know what's coming
We're
down
only the
pipe
planning commission.
or whatever, yeah.
And if it goes in our packet, then the public will get it ahead of the meeting.
Well, but this
They
meeting,
get it in the
right,
Board of
right, right.
Trustees,
So,
right.
They have to know where it is and.
so
But
Jan,
I asked,
Yeah,
I
we've
don't-
asked a couple, I want to just check because I did not go into the reports to see if it is under his report. I wanted to do that.
he's off, I mean, it could have just,
It wasn't this morning.
could have been a fluke, but we are supposed to be getting
We
that.
are supposed to be getting it. Okay. All right. Then I'll close the public hearing at the public comment at 7:13. I usually take a vote. Are there any objections? Okay. So we have no public hearings, no unfinished business, so we're moving on to new business, possible action site plan number 23015, Scio Retail Site Plan Amendment for Panera Bread. And what we'll do is we'll invite the applicant's representative up and hear from you. And then, since we don't have our planning consultant tonight, it'll just be referring to his report. And if OHM is on and you have anything to contribute, we'll move to you and then we will have our discussion. So welcome. Please introduce yourself and.
My name is Jordan Chapman. I'm with Scio Retail Management 2 LLC. Our address is 30200 Telegraph Road, Suite 205, Bingham Farms, Michigan, 48025. I'm here to present to the commission our proposal for a site plan amendment for the Panera Bread located on the Meyer Outlet off of Zeeb Road. The address to that is 140 South Zeeb Road. I've put together a brief presentation that has some of the same exhibits that you've seen in your packet that was submitted to Fran and the township staff. I would like to walk you guys through kind of the proposal and, give you a little more background on how the amendment, came about, and then answer any questions or concerns that you may have. I also have hard copies if you'd rather look at that, but I have a digital presentation I'm going to share on Zoom.
Okay, yeah, it's nice if you can share it because then the folks that are joining remotely can see. Yeah, there is not a link, so we don't have it.
So I think I promoted you to panelist.
Says I'm rejoining.
Yeah, it always, you rejoin when you become a panelist, kind of, it does it automatically, and then you should be able to share.
You see my screen?
yes.
I think everybody online can.
Okay.
Actually, do you have a printed out one?
Yeah, I do.
I'll take one too.
Give me my old eyes.
Okay, I ran out of staples.
That's all right. Anybody else want it written?
Yeah, that's sure. I can see that.
So as you can see on the screen right now, I'm sharing with you the approved site plan. This was the site plan that was brought forth in front of you guys back in December of 2022. The approved site plan was approved and we were granted a waiver for EV parking stations. So on this plan, you can see there's a little highlighted of the two charging stations that would allow the ability for 4 vehicles to charge while on site. Throughout the process, we ran into some issues, in construction that, gave us, some issues to actually physically install. So we were working with DTE as well as OHM and Doug at Carlisle Wortman on some proposed alternatives to still allow for the charging stations to be a part of that overall Meyer Center, but not necessarily in the same location that you see on the approved site plan. So go to the next page.
You want us to wait, Jan, until he's done before we ask questions?
Yeah, let's go through the whole.
You'll find on the next page, it's the proposed amendment to the site plan, which is the same exact site plan with the 2 stations removed. So this would be the official site plan, if approved, or recommended.
Where are you proposing they be relocated?
So if you want to turn the page to the next one.
Proposed amendment site plan?
Yep.
I mean,
So
The next one.
So we own the Meyer Outlots development, which currently tenants the Qdoba, the Panda Express, the Tropical Smoothie, and there's a 3rd building that is yet to be built, which is actually in for administrative site plan review. We actually resubmitted for that administrative review to address a few comments and concerns that OHM and Carlisle Wortman had. That went in on Friday, and I believe the hard copies were received by Fran today. So this page shows the proposed 3rd building to that development, which is on its own separate track. But if you look to what is the bottom left of this proposed development, you'll find that there's 2 proposed EV charging stations there to accommodate the same amount of vehicles.
So I don't see where that's at.
Can you see right on the screen over here?
Yes?
So the stations would be located right here. I have
And where is that?
It's,
Kind of by the gas station?
no, it's not.
Or not?
It's near the
Yeah,
main
it is near the
entrance.
gas station. So if you want to flip,
No, it's across the road.
A road from
I'll
there.
share the page one more time. And this is, if you
Yeah,
flip to
that
the next
one's the
page.
best one, I
This
think.
is the best view that kind of gives you an overall aerial of the entire center. So the proposed site that we're talking about today with the Panera Bread is right here in this corner, if you're looking at the
Bottom right.
bottom right, where it says approved EV space locations. And then the proposed, my computer just shut down. You'll see in the top left, I don't know what's going on here.
I get it. You want to move it over to this new location that's nearest the
Correct.
gas station.
So we're still proposing the same amount of spaces. It's just a different location that is on the north side of Meyer rather than call it the southeast.
Can you close that window?
Yeah.
Can we ask questions?
Yes, go ahead.
You made a couple of statements.
Yeah.
You said that the new location is going to be administratively approved, but you didn't say what is going in there.
So these are still 2 separate projects. So right now, given that we're also the ownership group that owns the 2 current buildings of those tenants that I stated, that's on its own separate track for basically that we're gonna build the 3rd building, which was already approved. This was been a few years ago. So the timing just actually happens to be perfect to where while we're building this new building, we'll also be installing these EV stations.
Yes, but what is going in the,
Right now, then the new ones,
Yes.
It'll be a Five Guys, burgers and fries. And then, we're negotiating another lease with like a chicken wing user. And the other few tenants have not been, decided yet.
chicken, what did you say?
Like chicken fingers, chicken wing, like another fast casual type restaurant use,
But not a slim chicken.
not a slim chicken, no. Are you looking for a slim chicken?
Chick-fil-A or some
No,
kind of
no.
chicken, some kind of chicken?
Yeah, so the use that we're working with is Wingstop.
Okay.
And my other question was, you said at one point in the process, you noted difficulties.
Yes,
Was that back at the beginning when permits needed to be pulled and wires needed to be hooked up and purchases needed to be made?
this was post permitting period, so as we started getting into the construction and like working with the DTE planners and design group, we were running into issues with, the amount of services that we could have on the property as well as the capacity of what Panera Bread has.
And they limited
So-
you?
What was that?
They limited you so you couldn't put them in?
Yeah, so DTE wouldn't allow a separate service that would accommodate solely the EV stations. So that was, the first roadblock that we ran into is that those stations weren't gonna be able to run off its own meter and, be billed for. And then, so we were looking into the options to have it run, to also have that service come directly from the transformer was not an option. And then, we started looking into what we had proposed with the Panera Bread. So all the electrical gear and meter sizes and panel sizes and the, on the building. And, the service size that we had there could not accommodate the additional usage or the additional loads from the two EV charging stations.
Wait, so the electrical service was something you set up for that building to handle all
Right, that
the,
was including an EV station.
yeah, so what happened there?
So there was, that was part of the difficulties that we had. So
So it was already built when you found out the problem?
it was towards the end, yes.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah,
When
yes. It was towards the end of
not
the-
beginning, not after the permitting, it was after construction.
Yeah,
Of which you didn't have to put the EVs in at all.
we haven't because if the EV stations were there right now, there would be no electrical service that could accommodate them. So to rectify the issue, we proposed to relocate them on site so that we can,
Relocate them to another site.
Right.
part of the overall center, yes.
And you're presuming that we're not gonna require EV stations at the other site.
So the other site actually, it already received, that's what I was trying to distinguish between the two projects, not to get confused. Is that site's already gone through the site plan approval process? So it's already been approved for the three buildings as designed.
Administratively, or,
So the administrative portion of it is for the reduction in building size. So we were originally approved for about 11,000 square foot. Given, how long it's taken to lease out the two existing buildings, we wanted to reduce that size so there's no vacancies. And the reduction was greater than a certain percentage, so it had to go back in front for administrative approval rather than just being approved already. So the administrative approval is directly correlates with the reduction in building size. So the two separate projects, the timing is kind of impeccable.
So now let me get this straight. We gave you more spaces, which, have you ever had lunch over there?
Actually, it was there for, I had a coffee before I came here today. and I
And you
sat down.
know about the jam, how busy it is in there, because I've been there.
At Panera.
At Panera, yes, the new Panera, the new.
I didn't get there until after about 5 o'clock, so.
Okay, well, I can tell you it's busy. And we gave you more spaces for EV, right? And now you're coming back and you're asking us to put some EV in another location that we can't require EVs in. Because for us, I get it, for you, it's just say, what's the problem? Just put them over there. It's in the same, like you like to talk about it, the whole Meyer
Yeah, the whole fire development.
location. But I can tell you, as our public policy is that we want more EV stations, not just a couple tucked away somewhere. So I'm having a reaction to it.
Yeah.
And you went and built the restaurant knowing that you got these spaces along with the EV stations, and now you're coming back after the fact and asking us what you're asking us for. So I'm like, it makes it sound like it didn't even matter what we had agreed upon, giving you more parking spaces when it's jam-packed parking. Jam-packed, because it's like this little labyrinth, you know, so anyway,
Yeah.
I'm struggling with that a little bit, but you know, yeah, I'm expecting you to respond, sir.
So. When it's my turn, I'll ask questions. Bob, was your hand up, Bob? Maybe it was. I can't see it because you're back there.
Go ahead, John, and then I'd like to, yes.
It's closer to the gas station, correct?
It is.
And there's more space over there, correct?
Yeah, that lot is bigger in size, yes,
And it's closer to Jackson Road.
correct.
So one of the advantages is that, you know, we might, if we made you put them there, then there's gonna be people waiting to get into EV and into Panera, and is that just gonna be a mess over there? And is that gonna flow out into Zeb Road? Is it better to have it a little farther anyway? It's better for Scio, not for you. But you know, is it better for Scio Township to have it located near a gas station, near a space where it's not so tight? And maybe there's so much space you could put a third in? Would that be a
Yeah,
possibility?
maybe 2 more EVs.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely look at that.
I mean, is the cost, I mean, is there enough space that you could, instead of just having 2, you could put a third or a fourth so that it becomes, you know, a place where people could, I don't know, shop at Meyer, charge their car. It's about the same entrance, it looks like. from
Go to the new businesses.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, would you consider increasing the EVs to the top left area since it's not built and there might be ample space for that and ample electricity for that?
I would definitely consider that.
And you might consider doing a solar hookup. Now, dealing with DTE and their solars, now, I'm gonna be honest, it had some difficulties dealing with DTE about that, but like the suburban dealership that's coming in, all they're putting in 12 or 14 EV stations, like a EV park, and it's all gonna be solar. So, just an idea.
I mean, you know, just speaking for myself, if it's already too crowded at Panera, it might be practical to put it somewhere else. So
It's
that
not the EVs that make it crowded, but I hear you.
but if they become not available for parking, and then they're gonna be available for charging, and then that's gonna put more stress on the flow of things potentially, and then there's gonna be people waiting to get in there, and so I just wondered.
Yes.
It might behoove us to put it somewhere else anywhere and ask for a third or fourth charger. If it doesn't cost that much more, to put it in now at the planning stage. I don't know how much the devices themselves cost.
So what level of EVs are you looking at putting in?
I don't have the details on the level of EV stations, but I can certainly get that for you. The EV charging station that we engaged to handle the Panera Bread site was Blink Charging. So I can certainly take a look at what the type of, I know there's various different types of what we put in. The whole EV is it's a little newer to us, so.
But it's not new to Meyer, because they got the Tesla ones over there on Ann Arbor Saline.
Yeah,
So this would, I can't speak for Meyer, but Blink is who we use, so I
You're
can.
the outlet.
We're the outlet, yeah.
but it's the whole Meyer complex. But anyway, go ahead. So
And
just so
overall.
you know, there's level 1, 2, and 3. And I'm sorry, and I'm just gonna get this out really quick.
Okay.
And level 3 charges 80% in 45 minutes. I mean, it's real fast.
You have to worry about the hookup, what's DT.
I know. I know I have the information, I just don't have it offhand. So I can go back and provide the information of the various charging station.
Okay, Bob, did you have a question?
I did.
Uh-huh.
I would like to say that, a statement first, and that's, I think you're being offered a reasonable request to accommodate this change. I'm surprised that I was pleased with that, John, that was a good one. The only reason I'm surprised is that I was getting a little bit frustrated in the timing of this. It seems like you got all the way through building before anybody told the township that there was a problem. The contractor, by your own notes on your construction drawing, is required to pull all permits and be familiar with the plan, this is your words, and notify the the Stonefield Engineering if there's any problems, and Stonefield is supposed to alert the developer after that, and the developer should notify the township. Sounds like nobody notified anybody until the end. And everybody along the line could have brought this up a long time ago.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. So I'm trying to rectify the situation. It was something that, you know, went unnoticed and was missed by both developer and GC. And as soon as we realized the issue, that's when I approached Doug with, how do you want us to handle? So
You got to do extra
Yeah.
parking spaces in though, right?
the site was, and that's where I offered up a few different solutions to Doug, just to try to get, you know, what is the solution that the township would likely prefer.
Just speaking for myself, I'd be in favor of, in lieu of making you tear up concrete and do something to get electricity there and take out parking for Panera and upset that tenant and the parking in the flow and make problems. I'd be supportive of putting 4 EV space locations over there in that area.
There are
They
4,
already had 4.
so it would be
Or
6.
I mean, two
Yeah.
additional, two additional is what I meant
I
to say.
thought it was, now correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was, we gave you 4 extra parking spaces in return for 2 EV stations. Did I get that right?
No,
It was 4 EV stations.
Bob's got it up.
no, I guess I could be mistaken. I thought it was 4 spaces with.
4 EV spaces.
Right.
Yeah,
with-
but 2 charges, but they're dual
chargers.
head chargers.
Right.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I got you.
So we actually already have the 2 of the chargers because we did intend to install them, so.
Okay. Yeah, I think, because it looks like there are 6 parking spaces there.
On the outline.
Where it says relocated EV spaces, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. And,
It's hard to see.
yeah, it's looking like there are 6. And I'd be in favor of, I think that a couple of things. One, if it does appear that it was on, I think it was a zoning compliance inspection that it was discovered that there was an issue. And I do agree with the busyness of Panera. I think this is a good spot for the EV charging. I think it has, it's more universal. If Panera is really busy, you know, this might be an option for more people. And I would be in favor of doing the 6, but I'd also want to put a date on it. So if something happens and this building doesn't go, we still need the charging stations. And
Good point.
and so I think those charging stations should go in, and maybe you can give, I'm trying to think of a date. I want it as early as possible because by now we would have had 4 charging stations. So I don't know what, you know, obviously you have to get the DT planners and get the transformer or whatever happening.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, the infrastructure in, but it could go in, those could be set up even before the building got finished possibly.
Yeah. I just had to do a little more research on what all DT would require, because I know the one thing for certain is that they won't let us run it directly from the transformer. So just understanding the the electrical equipment, because we'd be tying it to the meter room in this building. So I think putting a date to it would be fair, and I can even share the timeline of what we're tracking with Doug and team on the other one, which is immediate.
I'm just thinking, it sounds like then, if we need some dates to put into a motion, do we have to table it, or can we?
Well, if we were to say yes tonight to what you were pitching, when were you planning on doing it?
So for the overall center, I guess my plan was, as soon as we have, we make it through zoning compliance here, which we're in for our final, but I hope to believe our final review with Doug is. So in 2 weeks, I expect to have the administrative approval on site plan. And then we would submit immediately for zoning compliance and then send our building drawings over to the county for permit. And we would look to start as soon as we have a permit in hand, we'd look to be starting on the work.
And what's to the west of where you plan to put these?
To the west of this, so that's where it's the access drive.
No, immediately west, is that, I see, what's between the access drive and this? Is it a retention pond or is it green space? Bioswale?
To the actual building.
That's where the building's
No,
going.
not the building, what's to the immediate west, and like, I mean, you could throw a rock on it.
It's part of the stormwater system.
So that's a pond,
Yeah. I think in the picture it actually is dry, but it is a pond.
so. What kind of amenities do people just sit in their car in charge, or do they go in, I mean, are there benches there, are there? Benches with a shading so they can sit under there, or what did you envision by way of this EV area, charging
The
area?
new building will have 2 patios associated with it, but over in that area, there's not a ton of room for additional amenities, given that we're abutting to it. But we could certainly look at those options.
And how about pedestrian, and excuse my naivete in these matters, but can you charge it and go into Myers and shop and then come back to your charged vehicle?
Yeah.
So does there need to be safe pedestrian egress, access, crosswalks, signage? Because you're now asking us, instead of going into Panera and get a cup of coffee, to kind of park in this outlot, and I agree there's some advantages to it, but if people are gonna go into Meyer, we want them to get to Meyer safely. So I don't know if there needs to be.
Oh, I just wanna say, that's the whole Meyer site plan. I mean, getting from these to the 3 buildings that are
Okay.
there, I think, and there is so this collection of buildings, I think, is connected to the sidewalks, but I don't think there is a site connection within Meyer. That's a pathway at all. But you can get to the sidewalks and the 3 buildings that'll be there.
I've lost our camera.
Uh-oh.
Are you still sharing?
I'm not.
The name Doug Luan is on our screen, right?
Yep, and I don't see where I've got anything hidden.
So is that Doug actually on, or is that the name you're on?
That's what I've logged in.
Okay,
Bob, if you go to the start video button on the bottom left, it should be able to restart it if you click on that. It will drop occasionally through.
You got it, Rob.
oh my God.
Yes, Chris.
Okay, so my initial response when I read the report was, this was just a bait and switch. I wasn't happy that, you got extra parking. The deal was you were gonna put in EV. So did you look at possibly other locations than just, that's so far away from Panera Bread? Did you look at other locations that maybe the Panera customers could actually plug into?
So there's no way to service it with electricity on the Panera site, like, given that we're already at capacity with like the mechanical or the electrical gear for Panera, I don't have enough electrical, like there's not enough loads to service those two stations. And originally we reached out to DT because we wanted to have its own separate service that would, bill back to the landlord and that would, I guess be what is charged or the account linked to it with DTE. And that's when they said they would not give us two services on the same site. So we did try to look at all other options. I think we ran through 3 or 4 different scenarios, all of which I, presented to Doug and tried to get some feedback on, or got feedback on. But ultimately, this was the best alternative I could propose, besides having to go back and rip up asphalt and fit, bring us back down to the 4 less parking spaces.
Well, I'll throw this out there for commission to discuss. I don't think just adding 1 more station or 2 more spots is sufficient for the 6 there. I think it should be a bigger penalty. And, I don't have anything to go by because there's nothing in code. But I do know if this were like a landmark tree, it's a 200% penalty for mitigation. So I'm looking at, you should have a 200% penalty for doing this. And I would say you're gonna have to do either, 8 stations out there, or at least at minimum, we can look at, then we have underground conduit. So that's capped off that they'll be installed in the future for more than just, the proposed, I think 6. So the 3 stations that equal 6 spaces. I would definitely double that, if not even more, as far as a penalty for having to relocate outside of Panera Bread.
What if it were a minimum of 2 fast charging stations? Because I think all we've approved before has been the category 2.
Level 2.
I mean, that would be, that would be more useful in my mind, I think, having fast charging stations there versus,
We
and
already have.
that is they are more expensive, but you can get the,
But I believe he's already
You can
ordered
get
2 of them, haven't the petition or the.
yeah, he's
He's already
ordered
ordered
2.
So 2 fast charging plus those 2 then, if he's already
Right.
got those on site.
Exactly.
Then I think we can work with
Okay.
that then.
Yeah, I think somebody knew about this a lot longer ago than township was told.
If I could ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if I understood you correctly, DTE would not do like a separate charging bill that would go to Meyer for the EV stations? Is that what the deal was?
No, they wouldn't do a separate, so there's a service right now for Panera Bread. They wouldn't do a separate service that would only be for the charging stations, that would still go to the landlord.
Would they have if you would have asked at the outset?
I don't think it wouldn't have changed anything.
Would have had to get a bigger service drop to begin with. That's what I don't understand.
Because I believe the transformer I don't think there's issues with the transformer being able to support it. It's that they wouldn't give us a separate service for it. And right now I don't have enough.
So I don't understand.
But they will in that area you're proposing? They will in the northwest?
So it would be attached to the service on the building.
Okay.
So on the newly proposed building, the service would run, you'd have your meter bank that would actually be on inside the building in the meter room. That's where they would get their reading for the electrical usage for those stations.
So back to my question, you said it wouldn't be a separate one for the landlord. Who would be the landlord?
On the Meyer outlets,
On
the newly proposed
Panera.
location.
On the Panera site, you said, I'm trying to understand what you're saying, so I'm asking you, you said you couldn't get a separate service that would be billed to the landlord. Who is the landlord?
We were the landlord. I guess
We are
they wouldn't
Scio
give,
Retail Management?
yes, they wouldn't give, there cannot be 2 services on that lot.
That's all you meant to say.
That's what I meant to say. Regardless of who it is, they will not allow 2 separate services. So,
But in the other location, they're not gonna allow you 2 separate services, so you're gonna have it go to the building.
it would go to the same service, it'd be the same service that's supporting the tenants that are in that building.
And there's sufficient capacity electrically from the supplier, DTE?
So, and we're fortunate, we're going through the design phase right now building out, designing the architectural CDs and doing the MEP drawings. So we're making sure the MEP had many conversations is accounting for the usage. So that way, when we submit those drawings over to DTE, we're starting day one, everyone's on the same page. And we're
It
able
should have
to,
happened on the Panera side.
So this will
This is
not,
what
let's
should
say you
happen.
let's say you run into this problems again with the new site. You'll be coming back to us before you go finish the building of the new restaurants or whatever it is you're building there.
we're catching this far earlier than the other site.
But I'm gonna be rest assured that if any problems come up, you're not gonna complete the building before coming back to us, telling us about the problems.
We will install these EV charging stations. I will
But if
not,
you have
I
a
will not be
problem,
back
you'll be
here.
back to us. Well, that'd be great if there's no problem. I just wanna make sure if this happens again, you'll be
The
back
building
to us
doesn't
before
go.
the building is up and running and and sales are going on.
Yeah, how are they gonna get the service to the?
We can certainly
EV
come back in
stations
front
if
of
They
you.
don't get the building permits.
Well, yeah, when might the building go up, and then what timing do you have in mind for this building?
So I guess it all depends on the permits and approval process. So right now, I'm estimating 2 to 3 weeks for Doug, OHM, and the fire department to review the site plan set. As soon as I have that, the approval letters from all three of those parties, we will be submitting our building drawings to Doug to review for zoning compliance. I'm not sure if this is something he could pick up in a zoning compliance review or not, but once we have zoning compliance approval, I will be submitting those drawings to the county for building permit review. Once I have building permit in hand,
Are these something that are likely to be installed by the end of the year?
I don't think we're not looking at the end of this year, no.
So, okay, let's assume, I'm just thinking, okay, so fastest you're gonna get a building permit is maybe December. So what's the schedule for the building and at what point? I guess that's what we're trying to get to is,
When does the electric go? Oh, that's
When-
the last thing we do. We need
when-
studs and plumbers.
when do we get the charging stations installed
Up
and
and running.
operational?
I think you're looking at late Q2, early Q3 of next year. Cause assuming that we're giving ourselves, call it 120 days for the shell construction. Say, if I
So a
had
year-
it in hand by
a year
December,
from
starting
now.
December to March, you're looking at 4 months. So you're probably looking at between June and August of next year. A year from now. Maybe a little better depending on the.
So no later than the 1st of September, 2024.
Meanwhile, broccoli cheddar soup continues to sell at capacity
Mhm.
and with the convenience of 4 extra parking spots.
So I thought that Commissioner Culberson said desire that the EV stations are up and running, even though the building's not up and running. Is that possible?
I'd have to work with my electrical engineer on how much capacity or space we have in the existing meter room. That's at that second building that houses Tropical Smoothie and the additional tenants. To see, there'd have to be some sort of adjustment to the current service. I have not looked at that, but it's something that would have to be explored with DTE, our electrical engineer, and the architectural team. And then also look at the conduit runs from that building over to the proposed locations.
How long will that take to get an answer?
I guess it's dependent on DTE. I would 30 to 45 days, maybe.
Okay, what are you thinking?
My thoughts are, I think we can come to a consensus that yes, if they put in additional charging stations at a higher level. What is our leverage if this building isn't built or it's past September 2024? I mean, That's what I worry about, is we've got no leverage then. at
We
that
agree to
point.
shut down Panera?
Right.
I mean, I'm being facetious. Or tear up their parking lot and put,
They can direction.
put grass in those 4 spots?
Certainly you'd probably be able to hold up C of O on the newly proposed tenants. Wouldn't you?
But I'm saying, what if it's not constructed, for whatever, there's a delay, materials, the
Finance,
economy
pull out.
goes, yeah, it just, you never build it, so you don't, the C of O is no leverage for us.
You just require us to remove 4 of the spaces that we got a waiver for? And I'm just talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, and it's.
So how do you
yeah,
remove
that's-
those?
You take out the asphalt and put in planting.
Well, put it in the garden.
They don't have to be those spaces, it would be another space, but that would be and you can bet Panera would not be.
Which is ultimately why we landed on this, is that it still allows for the EV stations to be a part of the overall development. Because, you know, we gave you our word that we would install them, and we wanna follow through on that, understanding that there's some struggles and things we could have done better on the Panera project. Trying to offer a solution that would rectify that is how we landed on this item, of still being able to give it back, but in a proposed different location.
What's in the green space to the west of the Meyer Access Drive? Can you pull it up?
I can't put it on the screen yet.
You know, to the west of the new building, there's the Meyer Access Drive, and then to the west of that, there's a sidewalk, and then there's some green space next to that.
That's not their property though.
That's not our property.
Does the Scio Township deal with bonds? Could we say, we want a $25,000 bond, and you're going to put a cash bond up, and you're not getting that money back until those are installed? Do we have that type of system in place in the township?
Doug's not here.
Yeah, and that's one way to assure us that you're going to pay 150% of what the value of that is, that it will be installed if township keeps the cash.
So is time of the essence? Do we have to do this tonight?
Yeah, I was just
Right,
thinking,
I think
perhaps
they
we
have
need
the
to get
answer
some
whether they can
answers
do it.
before we
Yeah, I
vote
mean-
on this.
They need to talk to DTE and find out if they're even going to be able to do it and how soon. Before we would know when it would go in.
And it has to, the demarc or wherever it terminates from DTE to this, has to go on the building, it can't go to here, or could it go to a separate structure? Or, you know, you're gonna give it to the building and then from the building to here. Could it go to here, then from here to the building?
Well, the thing is, for it not to go to the building, you're gonna have an ugly,
And you need a meter.
you know, you can do like outdoor
Shed.
kind of meters,
Concrete shed.
whatever.
Yeah, you're
but
right.
Not even a shed, but yeah. I don't
Okay.
know. But that would be amending the site plan too.
Lovely.
Well, that's what we're doing, is we're amending the site plan.
Can it be? Could it go here for temporarily, and then when the building comes in, it gets hooked up and you take a day where it's down and you put it there and you run the conduit to it? In other words,
I think you can do it as long as the building's up and you have that service in the building, you could.
why?
I think a 1st of September date, no later than the 1st of September of next year
But
is
what-
reasonable.
Why couldn't you do it before the end of the year here? And then when the building goes in, you transfer it, say, okay, we want it there, or we don't want a new service, we want to change where it
Route.
route or conduit to there.
I think they need to go talk to their electrical.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, those, so then, if you can only have one and it's gonna serve them both, who says it has to be at the building? Why not here?
Well, the meter's gotta be on a permanent structure. So whatever that means, you know. they
Maybe
have-
maybe it's a footing and an obelisk.
Exactly, I don't know.
So what we're saying, all right, our next meeting is the 25th. All right, and I guess what we're saying is what I hear is the 4 level 2 chargers that you already have that we're supposed to go into Panera, plus 2 level 3 chargers, which are the fast chargers. And a plan for how these would go in if the building is not constructed by the 1st of September 2024.
Put in
Does that-
by what day?
I'd like to see the chargers,
By June?
I'd like to see them as soon as they can be there, and
Okay.
then get the electricity to the new building when that goes in.
So what is the as soon as it can be?
So what would be the soonest that you could get the chargers installed?
I think the 9/1/24 date's as soon as we can get them installed, because ultimately you're gonna run into the same issue with DTE of, you're gonna have a separate, you're gonna have a service there in this temporary or proposed area solely for the charging stations, and they're gonna do their design for that, and then I'm gonna have to go, we're gonna ask them to do a separate service to the building, would be the,
No,
kind of the
no,
same scenario that we're in right
relocate.
now.
Not in the second one, but
Relocate it?
relocate the first one.
I can certainly ask, I think that's gonna be a tough sell with DTE, but I don't wanna, I'm not here to speak on their behalf.
So how are you gonna do it if the building is there? Go to the building and run conduit underneath the ground?
That's exactly,
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're.
So why couldn't you do it to here and then put conduit underneath the ground to the building? Why instead of,
Well,
But-
to the Panera site, you saying?
no, not to the Panera site, to the
To the
new
new restaurant.
chicken site?
Five Guys.
Because they don't have the building there.
No, when they do build it, have the electricity put in for the EVs, start them earlier, and then when the building comes, just extend the electricity to the building. Is that what you're saying, John?
Yeah,
It's where the meter is mounted is
I know.
the issue.
I know.
Oh, and there's no
They meter-
building
And-
to put the meter in.
Just, we're getting into,
Okay.
you know,
Design.
No, but I also don't like the
Electric-
year delay either. You know what I mean? It's not only, it's like, they,
We thought the Panera site had EV chargers. I
Right.
did. I thought it had.
okay, so then it's then the soonest that you can install those with the goal of as soon as possible. And
Let us know.
and come back on the 25th with that information.
Suppose if, I guess we'll cross that bridge when I get there.
right, and, you know, if you get something, I assume you're working with an electrical contractor, electrical engineer, something like that, right? And maybe something from, I don't know, you want a report from them or
Yeah,
communication from
we
them?
need a memo and, yeah, some sort of report, and also, if there's an issue with DTE. Okay, all right,
Yeah, we
and
need
then,
some
so
wires.
we'll, entertain a motion to table until the, or postpone until.
I move to postpone this project
Support by riser?
to our next meeting on October 25th.
September,
September 25th, I'm sorry.
okay? And support from Commissioner Reiser. Any further discussion?
No, other than, yes, I would ask you to find out what level 3 you're gonna have, what system, how it coordinates with the current, maybe the current vendor has a level 3, so little details on the level 3.
Yep, thank you. All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I want to put your name on this. What's your name again, sir? I'm sorry.
Jordan Chapman.
And moving on to possible action on our environmental sustainability climate action plan.
Nice summary. Thank you. Oh,
Yes, it is.
And just to preface this is the climate action plan is a framework. The intent is that it is a living plan because we are going to discover what's successful, what's not successful. There may be funding opportunities that come up. Right, so, because I know the Ann Arbor, H0 plan has been updated and continues to evolve. And so this is the beginning of that framework. The other piece that I think is important, and this is, John, is sort of the idea of how we do it, because we don't have, right now, we don't have any funding for a specific person to be in charge of this or whatever, but the goal would be to have a coordinating group that would meet quarterly, that would be made up of I kind of outlined it in that implementation phase, that would include trustees and staff and the Environmental Sustainability Task Force, et cetera, that would be quarterly to kind of coordinate the efforts across all the sectors that we have.
Would this fall underneath the manager? Have her on board? So she can,
Essentially, she would be calling those meetings and,
good.
yeah, and getting everybody talking and especially as, budgets come up and things like that, what are we trying to accomplish both operationally with, electrifying fleets, replacing building equipment, operationally, and then the Sustainability Task Force really has the engagement with the community. Yes.
So thank you for all your work on this.
Well, thank you to the 25 volunteers that
Well,
worked.
this is a very encompassing document. At the outset, I will say, I printed out the ones with the notes in it.
Yeah,
So do I have the most recent one?
the most recent one is in the summary.
That is the most, but because the
The one that's
last
marked
meetings
up.
didn't have those notes in it.
No,
so-
I have them both,
Yeah,
but I guess we're not gonna pass a plan that's got red lines through it.
Well, it has the summary. The summary has all of the actions all the updated actions in there.
In other words, this will get, it's been kind of, what's the word?
Yeah, my goal is, okay, this is what my thought
Compiled, so to speak. Yeah, yeah.
is I took notes from what feedback we've gotten from people since the June edition was. And the summary incorporated at least the action, because people updated some of the actions based on feedback from like Morma and the Huron River Watershed Council, et cetera. So those actions are the most recent, and then there are some markups in there.
Right.
To add a footnote, or there were some typos and things like that. So my intent is add any other things that the planning commission is interested in adding or changing, sending it back to the graphic designer and updating everything when it goes to the board of trustees.
Like, for instance, on page 45,
Yeah,
that's content, and on page 46, there's content, and that, okay. Because I want to make sure I have the last one, and I do have the last one. It's this one, and the final one will be once you get with a printer on it.
Right.
Okay.
the graphic. person.
So.
Yeah.
I was so in the table of contents, it says that, water resources, protection and health on page 44.
Mhm.
I looked at page 44 and it's not water resources, it's regenerative agriculture and local food systems.
Oh, so the pagination is off?
It looks like, because I was gonna see if you were gonna put in some footnoting. Oh, okay, it's on 46, yes, it's off, it's on this week's, It's on page 46. And I'm looking.
So we just
I
need
see
to
some
make
of
sure
the
we check. the
changes you
page
made
numbers.
there. And so you were gonna footnote this
Yeah,
page, on page 47, today's 47, failing septic systems.
right. And what I did was in the notes, I
The red
added,
notes?
yeah, the red notes, I added the actual link, because it goes right to Huron River Watershed Council's page.
Where's the
About.
link?
She wrote, make this a link.
Make this a link. Yep. So it goes right
So-
to the page, so you can see all of their work on those.
So it doesn't do that now.
So if you have a hard copy, you wouldn't have that link, but an electronic copy, you'd be able to do that.
Right, right, just like our
I know
master
links.
plan.
It would
Yeah.
spell it out though, so that you could type it in, if you had a hard copy. No,
No, because the links tend to be embedded in the PDFs.
they do.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Mhm. And that would be the one that would be available to the public on the website, just
So
like
on
the
the
master
website,
plan
it
is
would
and so
have-
forth.
Okay.
Yeah, it would.
So I'm just gonna say this, I'm
No,
gonna
go ahead.
approve the plan. But I do not like that paragraph about septics, because I don't think it's with the best specificity. Not all old septic systems, it makes a generalized statement about old, aging, they refer to as aging septic systems, contaminated, et cetera. And that's something they don't know. They don't know about all the aging septic systems, because they aren't all on the river. We discussed this last time, that they can trace back aging septic systems that are contaminating the river. But other than that, they don't know what's going on. So I'm saying this for the record. I don't like
Okay.
it. I feel like it's not professionally accurate. It's overstating the issue. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm no expert on this, but if you're gonna make some,
What page?
page
Page
40,
46.
47 on our current one, and it's in the greenish bluish section under
Yeah, I have
failing
it. I
septic
have it right here.
system. If you're gonna make those kind of bold statements, then you should footnote it. Where you getting it? Is that true? And it sounds like your Huron River, we wanna use this global click to the Huron River Watershed Council, but even the Huron River Watershed Council has not done a study on interland septic systems to make that kind of bold statement. So I just want to put that on the record, because, and then maybe it'll be meaningless, like me putting a lot of things on the record about how I felt about the master plan, but I just feel like this is in some ways.
So what, are you talking about the first?
No, the heading. She's saying it says failing. Could we say potentially failing?
But some aren't some failing?
Yes, but that's, so potentially
So
some.
it says, as a result, aging septic systems, this is the last sentence,
Right.
contribute to both nutrient and bacterial contamination of our
can't we
surface
say
and groundwater.
some or
We don't
many?
know that
Okay.
everywhere.
No, but,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, could we say some or
Some
many?
aging
I
systems.
mean,
Yeah, okay, some would be, yeah, some
Add
because,
some?
yeah, some would be better,
I
some
think
would
that's
be
a good
better, that's a
point.
good point.
Yep.
everyone's but Kim's.
And in the interest of full disclosure, I do have a 1981 septic system. And when I bought my place in 2007, it passed the muster for the county. And I don't want this to be used against anybody, not just Kim Moore, because we're making bold statements about people's systems. So I just want to be careful about what we're doing. I just want to be careful, and I think we ought to be careful about the kind of things we do have proof about or statistics about, and the ones that we don't.
Qualifiers are good.
Yes.
Okay, we need to add Kim.
Your system is passing mustard?
Well, it
passed muster
did
in
then.
2007.
And I think the issue that they're trying to get at is because there is no, we don't know how many systems are failing. Because until someone sells, there is no requirement to test.
But you have a good point, Kim. Some are not failing and some are.
Right.
Right.
And then,
Okay.
Do you want to correct typos tonight?
If you wanna just comment and send them, on it, if you wanna comment, just send it back. Yep. Because as many times as you look at it, you still see things.
you might want to check your pagination again.
Yeah.
But I also want to say that, thank you, Jan, for pulling this together. I know it's been a lot of effort, a lot of effort on the part of all the people that attended and put their time on the hook for making this happen. So I'm appreciative of that.
Me too.
I will echo
Well,
that.
everybody, thank you. Pagination.
Wouldn't happen without you.
Thanks. Yeah, so if anyone else sees any more typos, you can do the little comment thing on the PDF if you want.
So tonight,
Yes,
are we wanting to get a vote on approval to then complete the changes, and then it would go to the board for their review?
correct.
And I'm gonna vote for this, and I thank all the people, the committees that did this. But I'm wondering if it would be a stronger document if we were to have all of us present rather than 5. Because Jeff Human has a lot of concerns about transportation and mobility and strong concerns. So do we want to give them, do we want to table this to the next meeting
We're getting tight.
to get Jeff's input and, Rakesh's support? Presumably, they're all gonna support it. We've been talking about this for several meetings. And that's all. Cause what if it's asked, what are the planning commission? Well, it came to us on a 5 vote, or it was, I'd rather have unanimous support for this document when it goes up to the board of trustees, but and that's just my current thoughts on it, Maybe that'll never happen if somebody's gone, but I know Commissioner Human is.
May I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you anticipating some controversy with approval at the BOT level?
I don't know that I'm anticipating, but there'll be questions about it, yeah. I think there'll be questions about it.
You'd like to have everybody's input.
Yeah. If we pass it tonight, we'll pass it tonight, and I'll vote for it. It'll be a 5-0 unanimous, probably, if I haven't talked to you folks about it, but I can see nodding heads.
What I'd say is 5 is substantial, but the other 2 are welcome to put together a paragraph or 2 to send, in correspondence saying what they felt, what they would like to see different if they do. I'm only trying to keep this moving because.
And I'm not moving to postpone it, Bob. I'm just.
No, I understand.
And do we know if they're going to be present on September 25th? All 7 of us?
That's
Don't know.
why
No, we don't know who's gonna be on the 25th.
But at any
Bob, I
point,
kind of like your
can write
thought
it.
that, to have a memo of support or a memo of,
Direction.
Yeah.
We could also do a motion for reconsideration, and if either of them have any changes, we could do a motion for reconsideration, incorporate those changes, and then do that. There's ways to clean that up if we need to.
yeah.
Okay.
Like she said, it's a living document. Even after approval, we're gonna want to come back and revise it. Hopefully not in a month, but
I do remember Jeff saying he wasn't gonna be here. wife was gonna be out of town. That's why we set
Right.
that other project for the 25th.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, because it will take, a couple weeks to get it put together by the graphic artist. So I think we can, I will specifically communicate with the two commissioners that are
Right.
here.
Speak
And-
now, forever hold your peace.
Yeah, and, if we needed to do an amendment at the next meeting, we can do that. If not, we can keep it moving.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that, if you're amenable to that. Okay, so can we have a motion to approve based on the markups and the summary, adding some before aging septic systems and checking the pagination and correcting typos.
I move as stated.
Moved by Commissioner Hyde, support by Commissioner Chang. Any further discussion? Oh, and this would be a friendly amendment that the chair will correspond with absent numbers.
Right.
That's okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to our reports.
Here you go, folks. My apologies. I was
Is anyone from OHM on? Just, do you have any report? Thank you, John.
friends adding to the package. For the record, what I'm passing out is my trustee report about our last meeting and anticipated meetings tomorrow.
Okay,
Stacy Monty is on. You'll have to upgrade her to a panelist for her to be able to speak. Stacy Monty.
We actually don't have anything to report tonight.
There she is.
okay, thank you.
You're quite right, Rob. If I allowed her to say that with her face showing. I'm sorry, Stacy.
All right, anyone else?
Chair?
Yeah.
Oh, you just say, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, if anyone else that has met, I know zoning hasn't met, and it's only been two.
I have a report
Yeah.
for the Western Washtenaw.
Housing,
It's not housing,
oh, that's right.
advisory,
Okay,
Western Washtenaw Advisory Group.
okay,
Advisory, Western Washtenaw Advisory Group.
all right. Yes,
We met last Thursday. We meet once a month, and then there's a couple months that we're not meeting, but there's a couple things going on. There was, the state has put together a housing plan. And they're like rushing, seems to me, they're rushing, and trying to get it out to all the different regions. We're in Region K, and they had a rollout in our region at the at WCC a couple weeks ago. And some of the Western Washtenaw Advisory Group members went, and they presented and said it was very chaotic, so I'm not sure how it's gonna go with this housing. You were supposed to set down your goals, each table, and give it to the person, and it just didn't sound very organized or sound. So that, I'm not quite sure how it's gonna roll out, but obviously the state is trying to spend some money. And housing, everybody always says that finding housing is a big issue for all the communities. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work. The Jan Pacquiao, the mayor of Chelsea, she's in the group. The county is working on having some grants, and she applied Chelsea applied for the benefit of all of us. And we're not sure where that's headed for, and I'm not quite sure what that money was for, but we should know about that. That meeting at the county commissioners was tabled. I attended an economic forum, and again, it seems like the state has all these dollars, and maybe they're about to get the infrastructure dollars too. So there are many departments, MDOT, Eagle, MISTA, Michigan Economic Development Corps, presented, and I did some pretty good notes that I sent to Jan. There's lots of grants gonna be out there. Some of the grants come with like a 30% match, and some of them, there's no match. But from what I gathered, there's like senior living is a big thing now for federal grant funding. All kind of senior activity stuff is a big thing. And now the big thing is pedestrian bikeways. There's grant money for development of that, slowing down traffic, a lot of things that we want to do on Jackson Road. So I wrote feverishly, but I at least got all the contact groups, names and numbers and emails for us to follow up. So it sounds like there's going to be some good money out there for us to tap into for our Jackson Road corridor project. It comes up periodically, what's going on, it's really interesting, what's going on with the Sloan project. And the person that speaks about it is the Dexter council person, whose name I cannot recall. And
Joe Semifero or Sean Keel?
he's a planner by profession, but he's just a resident and on the council.
Oh.
I'm not sure of his name. But anyway, come to find out, he thought it was gonna pass months ago. He said he thought Dexter was gonna pass it, but he reported on last week that it's being held up, and he thought that Scio Township just wanted to be open space. I like I'm sitting there and he's speaking about what Scio Township wants, but I'm a newbie, I'm just getting to know everybody. So that project, he always refers to that project quite a bit.
Is it Joe Semifero?
That doesn't ring a
Okay.
bell.
Sean Keel.
I can look up in
Matt
prior
Kowalski?
minutes. I can,
These are Dexter,
Yeah, Dexter folks, yeah.
yeah, I can look up my notes, but everybody seems very committed to housing and transportation, getting some money to do another, I guess if there was a transportation study done, but to get another study, that mean we had people there from hold on for just a second. Yeah, we had two presenters, Amanda Carlisle she's executive director of the Washington Housing Alliance. She did a pretty interesting presentation, and Christopher Lemon, vice president of Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. Carlisle kind of laid out how much housing how many units we need to be at pace with our needs for housing. A lot of discussion about senior housing. I think there's a movement underfoot, like this vote that happened not too long ago in the Dexter School District for recreation for seniors. And I think they had thrown in another building and all that, and it was resoundingly defeated. But there's still a movement underfoot to get more stuff for seniors, because everybody realizes that, seniors living alone took a big hit during COVID, being isolated. And the Chelsea Senior Center just got a $4 million grant for activities and stuff. So the money's out there, that's federal dollars, so the money's out there. There's actually another $4 million grant, maximum grants of 360K that Wave cannot, for transportation, Wave cannot apply for it, but townships and cities can, and I wanna talk to you about that. So there's just a lot of converging on housing and seniors going on, and also, you know, pedestrian, walkways, paths, that kind of thing, which we're all in the middle of. So there's just a lot underfoot. And I think we should probably get in touch with this, Michigan Economic Development Corp. Because they could help us with some of this Jackson Road stuff. And I'm not sure how to tap into this, how they got it structured. They're trying to get input, but it seems like the whole housing plan for the state. And maybe what we need to do, Senator, Senator Stabenow's assistant was there. And maybe we just need to get in, we need to be talking to some of our representatives about this housing plan. How do we tap into that? Because
We have a grant writer for the township.
We don't, we have one volunteer grant writer, Elizabeth Laporte, yeah. She's, that's one thing that as we start recruiting people, we do need, to get a few more volunteers that have some background.
You're talking about for the.
Any grant writing, yeah.
Yeah.
Not just.
Somebody would report to our
because
manager.
what we could be doing is, like for transit, we have focused our millage on the Jackson corridor, the commercial, getting people in, getting people out. And what we're missing is people that live off the corridor, seniors in particular, or even kids, taking kids to the library, in Dexter or whatever. I'm just kind of winging it right now, but many of the communities that participate in WAVE, that's what they have. They give money to the connector, which is like their line drive from Scio to Dexter to Chelsea and back. But a lot of it is door to door, and we don't do any of that. So I spoke with our supervisor after our last joint meeting about getting some statistics about how many people, we don't even know who's riding the bus, how many people are riding the bus, and where are they getting on, and I have some numbers because we've been digging in. We have this PC Trans software. We got all kind of numbers, and I got some Scio numbers, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Of riding the service. So I need to still send that email out to Will. That's all I have.
Okay. Let's see. Chair report, a couple things. One, I'd like to know if there's anyone who isn't willing to continue to serve. Everyone except John's terms are up at the end of November. So, think about that, because I think we're just getting into it.
Just getting into what?
Just getting into what we're doing. So I'm hoping people will continue to serve. And I did hear from Jeff Human. He just can't, the road advisory committee is just taking too much of his time, just because he's trying to balance kids and career and everything. So
What days of the week?
What's that?
What days of the week do they meet? And what time?
RAC meets, second.
Sorry to ask.
Nope, I'm just going back to the democracy
But if
here.
we're gonna consider,
Yeah. Roads is the first Wednesday of the month at 6:30.
When do you need to know by?
It would be nice to have another person for their October meeting, which would be
You said the
Our
third,
terms
First-
ends in November.
first Wednesday of,
fourth.
yeah, which would be October 4th is the next meeting. So at our next meeting, if there's someone who,
So does Jeff wanna re-up or is he considering it?
I think I haven't, he just can't handle the rack on top of planning commission right now.
Okay, so he has a decision to make. Okay,
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, and
Do you think he'd still stay on if you?
I think so.
Someone replaced him on RAC?
rack,
I think right now I have Wednesday evenings open unless somebody else wants to volunteer. So, you know,
okay,
No,
you'll.
I'm not. I'll be honest with you, everybody, I've been really busy with the subcommittees and this and that and
Yeah.
WAVE. And I have been thinking about when will my tenure end?
oh,
light at the end of the tunnel, huh?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So it's, you know, I usually don't get involved in things unless I throw myself into it, so I don't regret any of that, but I'll do some hard thinking about it.
Right, because, yeah, and we're also trying to think of, you know, keeping a good balance on as well.
You say if I quit, it won't be in balance anymore?
we will use you.
Yeah, all right,
It took us
anyway.
3 years to train you.
No, now I'm all trained.
No, you gotta stick around.
Right.
You
Yeah.
really
3
know.
years just to learn the lingo.
You're just, yeah, exactly, now you can use it.
You're training us.
Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, I just wanted to kind of go over those things. Whoops, what was that?
It wasn't the election.
Good.
I think you're
Yep.
locked in you.
All right, yeah, ZBA, DDA have not met. ZBA is meeting this month. I don't have a RAC meeting. LPC? I don't-
Nothing to report, really, no.
PPP?
Meeting this Wednesday, 4 o'clock.
Huron River Watershed Council?
Nothing to report except they had their fundraiser, so Jan was there.
Actually, yeah, there are quite a few people from Scio there. It was nice. Fire services, anything else happening with that? And thank you, Kim, you gave yours, so, all right, and I will correct it's not just housing, it's other things. Okay,
Yeah.
then we'll move on to our minutes.
Move to approve.
Support, Riser?
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? All right. And.
There is a hand raised. We don't have,
Oh.
do we have public at the end?
Oh, I do have one thing related on my report. I did a written report. Look at the bottom of page 1 where we talk about the items, the lithia, and so, you know,
Yeah.
it comes, eventually these community benefits get spelled out in development agreements, and there is. So the level 3 EV charging part, 7 AM to 12 with a discount for local residents, all electrical powered buildings. Now it does say obtained from green energy purchased off the grid. That was in there, off the grid. That means they're not getting it from the grid, or they're getting it on the grid or from the grid. So I think of off-grid power as like I go to buy some Everetys or Rayovacs. What does that mean, off the grid?
Yeah,
the
that's
grid.
not the great, it should be purchased off-site.
How about over the?
Or from the grid or via the
No, it
grid?
should be
Zach
off,
Michaels.
it should be purchased off-site. It's off-site. It means they're going to My Green Power or another renewables to purchase it off-site.
Well, can't DTE deliver 100% green energy?
My Green Power, yes, you can purchase it. You can contract or you can opt in.
So I guess what I'm asking for, is that the right nomenclature, off the grid, or does everybody know what that means, and I'm just?
Well, off the grid,
It-
off grid means something, but
Off the grid means something different.
I think
Yeah.
they're implying they're taking it from the power.
From the
supply.
grid.
Yeah,
Is that true?
So you're-
Everything's the grid, right? Cause it all,
yeah.
that's the
DTE is the
interconnectivity.
grid,
Well, but so is ITC, so is other
Right,
people,
right,
the
right.
grid.
but like, it's like when people build things in the mountains of Montana or Alaska. They're
Right.
off the grid, they
I
have their
have-
own solar and it generates in their
Really,
batteries.
we should
and-
say,
Via.
purchased on, it should really say on-site or obtain on-site or purchased
Well,
off-site.
so I guess, do you mind making a suggestion to Mariah Fink, our city, our township attorney on that?
Yeah.
If there's a better way to word it, so that they can't weasel out or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, what does that phrase mean?
Yeah,
That's
okay.
all, that's all.
Mhm.
Chelsea, Senator Dexter, Council, Zach Michaels.
Okay, I don't know, thank you.
Yeah, they kind of softened the undertake a carbon neutral thing too, as opposed to they both be.
So, yes, but I guess the takeaway on that is this is the most recent one to get to approved.
Okay,
You know, the potential disconnect between what the planning commission views as an important for community benefit versus where it might end up with at the board level, that's all.
and I think they did not have all electric, they were using a little bit of gas.
For the heaters, for the garage, melt snow or something.
Right, but that project is beyond.
Okay, so I need to get with Mariah soon, right? Like,
You've got 22 hours.
Little more.
Move to adjourn.
Well, I have a question.
we have a,
We have one member of the public who would like to say something, I don't know what.
No objection from me, especially if it's our parliamentarian, Rob Hanson.
You can see, for some reason I've got it.
all right,
He's been
Rob,
wonderful.
please go ahead.
We owe him.
Hi, Rob.
Thank you, John. First of all, thanks, Bob, for running Zoom. Well done and keeping up with the camera. And I apologize to Stacy Monty for butting in where I didn't need to. I wish the Planning Commission had closing public comments. And would you please consider adding closing public comments to the future?
We don't want to upset Kim.
For instance, tonight, this developer made a massive mistake and didn't report it. It wasn't caught. We learned from Jan that it wasn't caught until there was a compliance inspection. And I completely agree with Chris Chang that, yeah, there needs to really be a penalty about this and say to the effect, yeah, okay, you can lose the 4 charging stations at Panera Bread, but that means you got to put 16 somewhere else in the lot. Or as Jan said, the stage 3 chargers. And as we learned from Mark Brazeau, there are different kinds of level 3 chargers, anywhere from 50 amps to 400 amps. And if they're going to put the little trickle chargers in at 50 amps, that's not as effective as the 400 amp one. So you got to make sure what they're going to propose to put in there is something that is substantial. And Ryan Yapel, who I trust on these kinds of things, said, yes, you can indeed issue bonds and this sort of thing, make it $100,000, not $25,000. That if you're gonna, play these games, then make it substantial so that they have to follow through, because if they don't, it really costs them. That you guys were very gentle with this developer tonight, and it seemed to me that somebody needs to get
I
spanked.
was gentle. I just want to say one thing about this request for more public time. All of those things that you said, we addressed. It didn't get lost, the system caught it, and we addressed it tonight. So more public time would not have woke us up to what we missed.
Except that Jan just wrote down the $100,000 compared to the $25,000. So that might be and there might be in the future, you might have people with information that will help you.
Like I said.
Anyway, thank you so much for the time tonight. I really appreciate this, and please consider it.
Okay, thank you, Rob. All right. I think that is
Somebody move to adjourn.
the end of our,
Move to adjourn.
Commissioner Moore, support, Commissioner Chang. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 8:42.
Thanks for running.
42.
Appreciate it. If you need help,
Thank you.
shutting her down.